It's a brand new day. Ebusia for me ma obia kwabasonko ediba ayeho TV show. Na ene day de akosia metase say de na wankasa wani tia ensem ahodo na medibi ebedo metiefo. Na eye ene day de ensem a etwagu monte so efa eye yankasa ye MPP amayuko no ho ensem bi ena abeto eye akosia ma apono so amenso medibi ebedo mu. Na ensem ni eyina fa eye Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia ene Kennedy akompreko Agyapong na ene sen before say ye beto eye primaries eye MPP franka tuni no esim se na eye Kennedy ewo ne camp ena eye Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia enso ewo ne camp na eye ade se tomamento ewo eye Kennedy ene Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia entem na empenifo mo eye MPP amayuko ni etu omo fo se ebeya eye beef na omo no omunjai anase we tumani we na we di we atem ne chese we expose we no omunjai esanse ebe affecti omo edabi Ghana for bebre na eba monte so ebe react to that, but it seems say omo amfa baga yes wine, especially Kennedy akompreko Agyapong etumi komonte so ekogu Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia enimu asepoto Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia nipa bia oye calm ompeno wasem enti oma monte so fighting. Now right now it seems say NDC for the gas and the audacity kasafa salsem yiho na yese wotubo ebodan ya esaba wa so na it seems say MPP for ensema no omuka especially Kennedy sorry no ogu Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia enimu asiyina se NDC for a capture sa niamano ena chese omu enya kwan ena chese omu astati to be emane Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia na sa someway efri mra yam papa numbi etna say ewo TV3 omoye some discussion ewo nanado ensem bia o chese obeganti some taxes obe free some taxes every some companies been said ye beya yuta omo Ghana hano companies ni ebetumi abiebie enyuma bebre na omatumi afa youth ne na chese ononso ejuma ayede ahan of unemployment mu samsem we ena na omo discuss na chese ensem bebre na akopiem aba efa MPP for na chese sansem ye nanado ken chese opese owia Ghana ska ena ohun de wonye na chese onam kwati kwan bi so ena chese odisa taxes we de eba sedie insemitie audio ni bi abeka akosia mensa yebeko ni akotie insem ni bi aba na meso se aha ayeho TV like comment na share me videos ni fama.
No, of course they have based on
so the qualifications that there should be
listen to me, for which you have the
foreign based.
No, of course they have based on.
So the qualifications that there should be
listen to me, please. Based on the GIPC laws, of course, there has to be a partnership, etc.
Right.
But and we all know that there's been some agreement. Even Ken Agyapong, one of the lead candidates for the presidential primaries of your party, for example, even did concede. He has a steel factory for which even exemptions that he wants, he would not get. But some other foreign partnered entities who at the end of the day will repatriate their net revenue outside the country are given exemptions. Do you think realistically, and you said we should have a Ghanaian conversation, do you think that these exemptions should be given to some of these companies?
I have told you right here that for me, in the circumstances that we find ourselves as a nation, even though it is necessary for us to provide these incentives to these Ghanaian business because they have met the test or the qualification
Which test?
The test that yes, you should be a Ghanaian company, even if you are not a Ghanaian company, you should
registered
have
in
a Ghanaian, it should be Ghanaian equity. If you are able to meet that test, of course, the process or the procedure that has been laid down by the Ministry of Trade, if you're able to meet them, then of course you qualify. And so the argument that Kennedy Agyapong will not or has not been able to assess some of these tax incentives and other foreign companies have been able to, those ones are without any basis. I think that he has said his story. But I think that in the circumstances,
Kennedy Agyapong's serious comments are just stories. Is that what you're saying?
How is that serious comment? And how is that unserious comment? Why are you describing it as serious and unserious and all those things? I am saying that he has made his own allegations. I cannot substantiate it here. I am telling you that for me, as a Ghanaian, my principle is that the 45 people or the 45 companies that you are giving these tax incentives, though relevant, but in the circumstances, there are about 1 or 2 companies that we need not include them in the list, because they can stand on their own and be able, because some of the companies are already making profit. So the small ones who actually need the tax incentives to be able to stand on its own, to be able to provide the jobs that we already need. Because if you have a company that is already giving out about 5,100 jobs, but in its balance sheet it is also making huge profit, those companies can stand on its own, so that government do not have to spend some of this money or spend this huge money to be able to give tax incentives, because the outside world is watching. The World Bank is watching, the IMF is watching.
The external creditors,
216 million to Century alone. I disagree. I don't think that government should be able to do that.
Oliver, put the list that are before Parliament on the screen, so that I ask a question before I go to Mr. Adams. Now, Mr. Adams, if they are...
Well, I think that around this table, there's some amount of unanimity as to the tax incentives that are supposed to be given. Also, it is also important that, as Prof is saying, there should be some KPIs that is supposed to serve as an oversight, so as to be able to assist in projections or future projections as to how some of these tax incentives are supposed to be given. But the point I made was very clear. The point I made was that...
Which is what?
One, it is important that government creates that enabling environment for companies to be able to subsist, for companies to be able to expand, and for companies to be able to give more jobs to the teeming young people that we have in this country. This is very clear, and I said this here. Now, as to the number of jobs that each companies have created, there can be an analysis that we can all go into as to whether or not it is important for certain companies to be able to assess tax incentives from government, especially because of their state or their status before a certain tax incentive was granted to them. But in the current circumstances, we are talking about people who have met a criteria that has been set out by the Ministry of Trade, that has been set out by the One District, One Factory, that has been set out by the GRA and the Ministry of Finance, that if you are able to meet this criteria, then you may qualify to be able to get these tax incentives. And I am of the opinion that whilst we have these procedures to be followed by companies to be able to assess these tax incentives, it is also proper to balance the revenue projections of a state, the current circumstances of your economy, with the current, if you like, the current projections that are made by companies in terms of assessing some of these tax incentives. That is why I have a problem with. And I am of the opinion that they should be able to generate a certain discourse. The discourse whereby there will be a Ghanaian conversation that because of the projections that we have with respect to our revenue, how can a government be able to balance these things so that certain strategic investment, the supposed strategic investment that government seek to be able to bring about, we can or we should be able to bring those things down so that we will be able to support the,
in the budget. What's the current deficit for the projected year?
I think I may have to check.
It's 50 billion. 50 billion.
That is okay.
Do you think that if we have 5.5 billion?
I wanted to add this.
No, don't add it. No, Vincent. Please. Let's not fight.
We are not fighting.
So 50 billion. 50 billion.
Hold on.
Don't you think we can do away with this?
From what
don't you think we can do away with this?
From what Prof said, if you check from 2013 to 2016, there was a trade deficit where our imports were more than our exports. From 2018 to 2022, I am just trying to demonstrate to you how some of these KPIs